So we're just going to dive straight into this. I have gone ahead and I've created a 2D project, but what I want to do is I want to make it an Android project. So I'm going to switch platforms to Android, and it's only ever going to be in portrait mode as well. So that's the other thing I want to change. So I'm going to change a couple of things over here. So the first thing is the default company is me. It's a game called Lock Poppers, and you've probably seen a game very similar to this. In fact, let me just... Anyway, so this is so Nikola Tesla gives it 5 stars. So we're going to make this kind of game here. So here you see that there's a big minute hand, and so what happens is it bounces down to there, you click that, and then you go back, and you got to do it a certain number of times. So this is what we're going to be building today, except we'll do it in 2 videos. What I want to do today is I want to get the sort of screen itself done, and in order to do that, we're going to do that video today. So that's what we're going to do today. So resolution, presentation, auto rotation, no, I want portrait, and I don't want this disabled. Okay, that's fine. That's everything we need to change in there. Now inside art, I actually have my game icons already done. So this is the game icons that I've created, the game icons. This is the artwork that I've come up with. So this is what we're going to be using for this. Now I am going to pixels per unit, 100 is probably yeah. I mean we'll see how we go. Let me get this here. So the Sprite for a start, it's multiple, and I need to change that to apply. And then I need to go back into Sprite Editor, and then this time I'm going to slice it, and I'm going to choose automatic, and I'm going to click on slice, and it should find all these things here. So it's not done it quite right. I mean, it's got these icons here, which is fantastic, but obviously it's screwed this bit up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one here. And then I'm going to select this other one, and then I'm just going to drag the handle over the top there. This is the icon for the main screen. So I'm going to call this logo, and this is going to be lock hoop. So we know which ones these are. This is going to be the tick, and we'll call this the ball for lack of a better word. And then this is going to be main body, and this is controller, and this is trophy, and this is settings. So these are all just generic things that I came up with. So I'm going to click on apply there, and now when we go to here, we'll see that we have all our options are available there. Now what I did before I started this video, and I'll bring up Photoshop just to show you, is no, I didn't do that one, and I didn't do that one either. I did this one here. I go back to here, Photoshop. I created this mock-up screen. So this is my mock-up screen here, showing the lock. This is the tick mark. This is the ball that you hit, and so it's going to look a bit like this. This is what we're going to do here. So the first thing I need to do is remember what RGB value this is. So I think we can pick it from here. So I think that's good. So I'm going to choose. Where are we? Portrait. So this is the portrait mode, and then the background color. I'm going to put in the main body just now into the scene. So that's the main body in the scene, and I'm going to change the background color of this, and I'm going to choose this color. So now that that's the same color as that. So if I drag and drop the logo on there, you'll see that lock popper now actually makes a lot of sense, because it's, you know, it's that outline makes sense. And so our main body, let's do create an empty, and then this is going to be the lock pivot. So this is going to be the point in space where everything in the lock attaches to. So the main body is going to be a child of the lock pivot, and which that means is I can now move this lock a little bit further down the screen, because I want it to be a little bit further down the screen. So what is that? Let's make it -1. 0.5, yeah, -1.5 looks good. But that means though that the main body is still at 0, 0, 0, and that is the super important part, because we need to precisely mark where the ball is going to be inside the circle here, as well as the tick mark as well. So we need to make sure that's there. So our main body is there, and let's also add the lock loop, and we'll add that to the main body. Or do we need to add it to the main body? Maybe we need to add it. Why is that not letting me do that? Let's make that -50. Okay, let's make it -50, and then that puts it back in the scene. So we can make that the child of that. That's fine, and then we will make that 0. No. What do we make that? Let's bring it up to about here. Is that about right? That seems about right. So let's make that 3. That's a bit too far. 0.5, everything spell right. Okay, so that looks kind of similar to what we have there. You maybe make it 2.75. 2.75. There you go. That looks more like the lock there. That looks good. I like it. Okay, let's save what we've got so far. And we're going to call this scene the game. So we're going to have a couple of different scenes, but okay, so that's the main loop there. The next thing we need to have is our main body is at 0, 0, which is, as I said, super important. The next thing we need to do is we're going to create a pivot point. So the pivot point, it's the best way to describe this. So the pivot point is where everything rotates around. So we're going to rotate the pivot point and not the actual ball itself. So I'm going to create a empty game object here, and this is going to be ball pivot. And the ball pivot is going to be at the center, and we're going to extend the ball from that point. So what I mean by that is I'm going to create ball, and I'm going to drag that as a child of this object. And you'll see that ball is currently at y 1.5. So if I bring that up a little bit, you'll see now that the ball is kind of in the middle there. In fact, that's almost perfect. So let's make that 1.75. That's probably perfect at 1.74. It really doesn't matter, because if I rotate along the z-axis, you'll see that the ball moves perfectly inside the track there as we increase and decrease the value there. So if I change that to 90, if I change that to -90, you'll see that it flips the other side, and so it works perfectly inside that barrier there, which is great, because we need to be able to show, we need to be able to move it anywhere we want inside, but be restricted by that point there. So the ball is just at a particular distance, and the ball pivot is the thing that determines what the rotation is. Okay, so the next thing we need to add is we need to add our tick pivot. So we're going to do the same thing, create an empty game object called tick pivot in this case, and then we're going to drop our tick into there, and we will give it the same so the same height as this. So it's now 1.74. Again, the height doesn't really matter, it's all to do with the angles. So if I go to tick pivot and then I rotate on the Z axis, you'll see that the tick pivot is in there. It's perfect. And the one and other thing that we need to do is we need to add a collider, which is going to be a circle collider 2D to that. And we want to add a capsule collider 2D to this one here as well. And if you go to scene, you'll see that our capsule collider perfectly takes up all of our tick mark. And the same thing for the ball. The collider takes all the tick mark. Now, why is that important? Well, when the user presses that, when they tap down with their finger or they press the mouse button, we need to make sure that those two colliders are over the top of each other. And if they're not over the top of each other, then they lose the game. So that's the reason why we do that. And I think that's everything. I'm going to zero these out to here. Okay. And that's the kind of main board for the game. We still have other things as well. We still need to have these three items up here. Now, I don't have those buttons there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Photoshop and like Control O. Oh, yeah, that's why. Control O, and that's not right. That's taking me way back there. Let me go to Game Icons, and then I'm going to drag. Where's this ellipsis? This is this ellipsis here. I'm going to drag this ellipsis to this one over here. So now I have a background here, and I'm gonna save this. Okie dokie. And then I'm gonna go back into the, I need to export it first. Export. And where are we? Save. And save it to there. Save. Yep. And so now we go back to the game, and I need to add one more. So all I'm going to do is just add another slice. So there's my other slice. Just going to make sure it's right over the top there. That looks good. And that looks good as well. So that is going to be button back. And I click on apply, and everything else just stays exactly the same, which is good. Okay, and now I want to have a canvas. So I'm going to go create UI, and then I'm going to create a canvas. And the canvas is going to be in scalable screen size. And then the reference resolution is 800 by 1280. 800 by 1280. And we're going to do match width to height and 0.5. So it's going to scale equally width and height wise by whatever we give it. Okay. And now I want to add a button. UI button. And then the UI button is button back. Preserve aspect, and it is simple. And then we don't need the text component of this. We can actually just get rid of the text component because we don't use it. But what we do need to do is we need to add a child image component. And that child image component is going to be, for the first one, it's going to be the setting. I think the first one's setting over on the side. So let's make that a setting. So I'm going to make that setting there. And you see it's far too big. So we'll need to scale that down. Or actually we could scale the button up, but I think by this point it's probably, there you go. That's perfect. Okay, so there is our button, which looks like that. And is that about the right size? I would say it's about the right size. So I'm going to put that up in here, and then I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm just going to do Control D, and then Control D again. So that gives us roughly in the same space that we had before. So when I run this, you can see that it operates exactly like a button would operate. All we've done is we've just removed the text and we've added an image. That's it. So instead of this button here is going to have the trophy, and this button here is going to have the controller, which is way too big, but we can solve that out because we pressed the wrong thing. So that should be controller there. There we go. Oh dear. So we can scooch that down a little bit. That's okay. And bring that. There you go. That's good enough. And the same thing with our other image here. It's a bit too big. So we can scooch it down just a little bit there. So that's okay. Yeah. Okay. That's good. And I'm going to change this to settings so we know what one it is. This is going to be trophy. So that's the trophy and scoreboard one. Did I add another button there? Okay, let's get rid of that. And then button 3 is going to be game center. So we get settings, game center, and trophy. So that's our sort of 3 buttons there. We also need our level over here. So our level is our bit of text. So we're going to do UI text, and our text. Actually, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure it's aligned to the top left there. Okay, so our text, we need to add Arial. So I think I can get it from fonts. Actually, I need this one here to be there. Let me see if we can get it from here. No, didn't like fonts. Font. No. Windows fonts. Okay, and then I want, where is it? Arial rounded. Arial rounded. Here we go. So I'm just going to drag that into Art. And my font is now going to be Arial Room, whatever that is. And this color is going to be that. And it's not going to be as opaque as that. It's going to bring it down a little bit there. And we're going to change this to level 0. Actually, level 1, we'll change it to, just to make sure it's the right size. And then we'll scale appropriately. Okay, so I want to put that on the. I want to try and get the words right here. I want to align it horizontally. Sorry, I want to align it vertically in the center. And I'm going to scale that to about there. So that's good enough because it will. I mean, if it's 1024, we're close, but 999 is not going to be enough. So there you go. So that gives us 1,000 levels. There's no way that people are going to play us to 1,000 levels. So that's kind of the game screen that we want there. Although I notice we've lost our ball and our pivot. So I'm going to make our ball positive 50, and I'm going to make the tick positive 150 so that it's in front of it. So this is just the Z ordering of the sprite. So if you have a negative number, you're at the back of the screen, the drawing order, so that sprite gets drawn first. And then the more positive your number becomes, so the bigger your number becomes, then the further forward, further towards the player, your sprite gets drawn. So you can draw things from the back to the front using negative at the back and more positive towards the front. But really it's just smaller numbers towards the back. All right, so our text there is current level. And we'll change that back to level 1 because the first level is level 1. And we also need to have the text in here as well. Should we do that just now? Yeah, okay, let's do that just now. Okay. So for this, I'm going to copy that current level and I'm going to drag it down to here. And I'm going to make this the full size of the screen. And I'm going to stretch it that way. And that's level 1. Let me just bring this in here. And this has only got, we'll make that 999 so we know where these things are. And we'll align it horizontally. And we'll align it vertically as well. Now that's slightly off. There you go, that's center now. And I'll make the font size bigger. There we go. So that's the sort of current size, that's the current number of hits you need to get. So now our game looks like this, which is good. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's what we have now so far. So now the idea is that you will have to. It starts off the game, and then we choose a random location for the ball, and then you have to. The tick follows around, and you have to tap it at the same time. Now the tap is only on the screen. We don't need it to be anywhere else. But we do need to be mindful that it doesn't hit any of these. So what I'm going to suggest is that we have, maybe we try and figure out we can get a hit box around here, or maybe even just in this circle, so that the circle is the only thing that we ever tap. But then a bit of pain if we want to get down here. So maybe we'll see how that goes. Okay, what else do we need to do just now for this screen? Maybe we could get this moving around in a circle, so we could get this to arbitrarily choose the right thing there. So that might be a good thing to try next. So we want to rotate from that point there to a point, and then we want to show the tick, and then that'll start the game. Is this beyond this part of the video, I wonder though? Well, okay, let's see how far we get. Scripts, and then we want to add a C# script, and this is going to be called rotate ball to new rotate ball. Let's just call it rotate ball. And what I think we're going to do is we're going to use IEnumerator start. Actually, no, we want to do void start. And then we want to have a public function that says start rotation. Start coroutine rotate the ball. Rotate me. Let's call it rotate me. And we'll call that generate. And that's not right. So much for automatic. Okay, and then inside here we'll do start no, we won't. Start rotation. So when we first start the game object, it will start rotating immediately. So rotate me, quaternion, and this is going to be current equals, and it's going to be transform.rotation. And then the new one is going to be 180 degrees away from you plus 45, something like that. I don't want to, yeah, okay. So I want to say that it's got to be starting from, it has to be, okay, the starting point has to be further away from you than, like, it can't be there. You can't start the tick there and then have it here, because that's not much of a game. It's not very fair. You need to give the player enough time to get there. So I think that if we start at 90, or I guess that would be minus 90. So if I go to ball pivot and I choose 90, yeah, there's 90 there, and then minus 90 is there. So if we were to do it at 90, then you want to be further away from it than that. Or if you did it as positive 90, then you want to be kind of in this half, if that makes sense. Hopefully it'll make sense. Okay, so the current rotation is that, and then the new rotation, target rotation equals quaternion dot Euler angles. And then I want to specify the float, so that's going to be 90. Sorry, it's going to be 0, 0, and then it's going to be 90 plus random dot Unity engine dot random dot rotation. Yeah, I don't want a random rotation. I want a random range, and then it's going to be 0 to 180. So it's going to be positive 180. So it doesn't like this. Why is it not like this? Okay. There, happy? Wow, so picky. Okay, so that's the target, and then I'm just going to do this in a second, but we're going to need to have like a duration in here as well. So let's do a float duration equals 1f, and then I'm going to do while float time equals 0 while time is less than 1, because we always go from 0 to 1. And in video games, it's a lot easier to go from 0 to 1 and then manipulate the time somehow than it is to do that. But we also need to do time plus equals time dot delta time, divided by the duration. And we're going to do quaternion dot lerp, and it's going to be lerp from current to target, and that is going to be the current time, which is going to be that, and then we're going to say transform rotation equals that, and that should rotate everything the way that we wanted to do. And we also need to do yield return null, so we don't get stuck in an infinite loop there. And then just to make sure we're, yeah, we don't really need to worry about it too much, I don't think. So this should take a second to rotate the ball round to a new position. Okay. And then what we could probably do is we could specify the direction as well. So we can do float direction equals 1. Yeah, direction equals 1. And then we can do plus that times direction. Direction does not exist in this context, that's right, because I don't have this here, so then I need to do start coroutine, rotate me direction. Okay, so that makes more sense. And then we have our direction there, and then we do direction divided by direction. Well, we know we're going to put in 1 and minus 1, so we don't need to work that out. We don't need to figure that out. If it breaks, it breaks. Okay. So I think that's good. But we want to add it to ball pivot. We don't want to add it to ball because remember, ball pivot is the thing that's moving. So although it's called rotate ball, we're actually going to put it against the ball pivot. So now when I start the game, okay, so the game started and it rotated around to there. That's good. And it rotated around to there. So these are all random ones. That's good. Okay, that's good. So let's change that to, let's leave it as 1 just now. Okay. So once that's done, we then want to show the tick mark afterwards. So I'm going to say start rotation. Okay, let's not have that on start then. This is where we start thinking about how we're going to do this. So this is going to be called when by the game controller. We're going to create this game controller. I do this quite a lot. I create a game controller that handles these sort of smaller games. So let's pass in action finished rotation. So we're going to pass in an action to do when they finish the rotation. So I'm going to use system for that. And then I'm going to pass that in to here. So I'm going to do that there. And then I'm going to say if is not equal to null. So if that action isn't equal to null, call that there. Okay. And now I want to, this is where the rubber starts to hit the road. So now I want to create a script here called game controller. And I'm going to create an empty object here. And I'm going to call this game controller. And I like to center these objects. They don't exist in the game. In that they're not. There's no physical manifestation of them, but it's easier for me to find them. I don't know. It just is. I don't know why. So I've got my game controller here, and I'm going to reload the solution, and yep. And so I have my public, and then I want rotate ball, ball pivot, and then I've got my start method here, and my start method is going to call ball pivot dot start rotation, and then I'm going to specify the finished action, and the finished action is going to be show tick, and the direction is going to be 1, so that's fine. So I need my private void show tick, and then I'm going to have public, and then this is actually also going to be rotate. It's going to be something else as well, so it's going to be transform tick pivot. So we're probably going to change this a little bit. Actually, let's make this a game object just now. So tick pivot dot set active true. So that's all we're going to do is we're going to set the pivot to be active to be shown. So what's going to happen is the animation is going to show the ball moving. It's going to then show the tick, and then the tick will then follow the ball round. That's the sort of idea. Okay. So our first thing is we have our tick pivot here. So our tick pivot, we are going to hide. So we're not going to show the tick pivot when we first enter the game. Our game controller, though, it needs to know the tick pivot, and it also needs to know the ball pivot. So now the ball's going to rotate, and then it's going to show the tick pivot. There we go. Okay, that's actually not a bad speed. I quite like that. I mean, we could make it a little bit faster for, you know, later levels, but it's not a bad speed. Well, we shouldn't probably make it the speed over the distance rather than the distance over the speed. If I'm making sense. So it doesn't always take 1 second, it takes the speed time. Excuse me. Okay. So once the tick moves, we also need a rotate tick as well. Rotate tick. Reload solution. Yep. And rotate tick. Let's have a public public void. I want to set active. Oh, okay. Let's do void update. And what we want to do is we want to get the current rotation. I want to rotate it over time. So I can't remember how to do this in Unity. Transform dot rotation rotate. Rotate around. Rotates the transform about the axis, passing through the point in world coordinates by angle decrees. Okay, so rotate around, and then it's going to be vector 3 forward, which is the z-axis, and then the angle is going to be whatever the angle speed is, times time dot delta time. And float angle speed equals 45. So the angle speed is that, I guess. So this is deprecated. Rotate. Okay. So what does rotate do? Axis and angle. Okay. Applies an angle of rotation around there, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see if this works then. So we've got rotate tick. So when it starts, it will rotate. This did not work. What am I missing? Rotate. Angle speed times time dot delta time. Okay. Is it rotating at all? Do you know why? I haven't added the script. Every single time. There we go. Okay. So it's going around that way. It's not going the right way. I wanted to go the other way. But that's okay. So we can start off as being negative 45. Now the nice thing is we can actually then speed that up, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for the player. So this will rotate around there, and then you got this rotation around here, and then you go boom, and then when you hit that, then you move on to the next level. Boom, like that. Okay. And yeah, I think that's a good place to stop for this week anyway. So I will catch you in the next video.